everyone, and welcome back to the United Star. I'm Prasham and I've got Adriano Del Monte with me, and it's an absolute pleasure to have him on this channel today. He's going to talk about the Serie A, he's going to talk ESL, and he's going to talk about Italian football in general. I'm sure almost all our viewers have seen him presenting the game on various channels like beIN Sports, Sony Sports Network, and many more places. It's an absolute delight, Adriano, to have you here today.
My absolute pleasure. It's great to be with you and really looking forward to talking some Italian football. It's been an enjoyable summer and obviously a big season ahead.
Thank you so much, Aryan. So let me start right off with the bat with a question. We had Arpit Sharma on our show, who's a Sony Sports presenter, and he said that the success of Italian football is basically because of him, because he started covering. So how much of that are you going to agree with? How much of it are you going to credit it to Arpit?
Well, you have to give him some credit because he is true. He's told me many times, but no, certainly there is a link between when he started covering it and the constant growth and success. But no, look, as I mentioned, it has been a very bright period in Italian football. Obviously, we know what took place at Euro 2020, but particularly given what happened those few years ago, missing the World Cup and the impact that has had. It's just so great to see. Yes, the trophy, of course, was wonderful, but it has been great to see the growth and progression of the Italian game and the response since that very low point, missing the 2018 World Cup.
No, absolutely. And, this is where I want to sort of segue into the Serie A, because is sort of Juventus losing the title, in a sense, a tipping point of how successful sort of grassroots Italian football has been? Because obviously Inter Milan have come through strongly. Sassuolo have looked good. Atalanta have looked good. So could you say that is sort of an indication of the strength of Italian football at the moment?
Yes, I think it's well put. I think everything is linked as it is across multiple countries, multiple leagues. Look, at this point in time, Italian football, the best part of this century, has become outdated in many areas. It has become a bit stale, the competition, with Juventus consistently winning those 9 straight titles. So there have been a number of elements in Italian football which we could dedicate an entire podcast to, an entire show to, whereby it needed addressing. And I certainly feel that the failure to miss the World Cup in 2018, albeit a very the darkest period in Italian football history, it was that spark now that has regenerated many across the league, across the national team. And that's why we have started to see some progression. But certainly from a Serie A perspective, Juventus not winning the title was the best thing that could have happened. Inter winning, also great. Obviously one of the 3 big clubs along with AC Milan as well. And you mentioned Sassuolo, Atalanta, so many of these clubs as well, which really now, they're leading the way in terms of their production of youth talent coming through into the professional ranks. And of course, for Sassuolo and Atalanta, particularly in the Euros, players from those respective clubs really making their mark on the biggest stage. And I think that was the most rewarding thing of the summer that was, because for so long, Italy have been reliant mainly on Juventus, also Milan, Inter historically, but great to see Sassuolo players, Atalanta players, and players from many different clubs in Italy really delivering and standing up on the biggest stage.
Right. And I mean, I don't want to sort of put a dampener on sort of this sort of excitement, but there are certain issues, especially with the Serie A. And Inter Milan, I think the club that obviously won it last season, I want to particularly focus, sort of zero in on them. So obviously the manager Antonio Conte has left, and he has cited sort of financial reasons, and we know that the owners are in a bit of a turmoil. So going into the next season, what are you sort of expecting to happen at Inter Milan, and how will things take shape?
Well, obviously, the financial situation is nothing new at Inter. Sadly, they've been under financial pressure, even last season when they were successful in winning the title. So it's no surprise, sadly, that they have lost Hakimi. They're not going to be able to do too much business, which means essentially what they have is what they'll have for the duration of the season. There's still question marks over the future of Lautaro Martinez. He's still linked with a couple of moves away. Lukaku has pretty much confirmed he will stay at the club. So from a personnel perspective, it looks as if it will be Hakimi out, the remainder of the squad stay in put. Now, the loss of Conte is huge. That is the biggest departure of them all. There's no doubt about that. What he brought to this team, what he brought to that squad was, it spoke for itself. He delivered. He ended the run that he started with Juventus all those years ago. But look, I think in Simone Inzaghi, the manager who's come in from Lazio, what I like about this appointment, he's not at the same level as Conte. Let's not pretend that it is the same level, with all due respect to Simone Inzaghi. But Inzaghi does play a similar system, and I think the players in this squad will adapt very quickly to what Inzaghi tries to instill, because it was very similar from what they played under Conte the last couple of seasons. So I'm not expecting Inter to fall off. I think they still will be competitive with Juventus, who certainly with the return of Allegri will be the heavy favourites to win the title once again. But look, I'm expecting another positive performance from Inter this season. I think also for AC Milan, I'm here based in Milan. I think both Milan clubs, there is a lot of positivity here on the streets that they can at least push Juventus and at least push themselves and each other all the way through. And I think that's very healthy for this consistent growth of Italian football.
Right. And Adriano, you actually answered all of my questions with regards to interest to who will come in, who will stay, and how good Inzaghi is going to be. Because obviously he's done a great job, but you never know when you come take that sort of next step up, will you be able to deliver? And I think that's true with managers as well. And often in these times, you don't give managers sort of that learning time which it takes to adapt. And that's seen in the Premier League. Well, Lautaro Martinez is being linked with Arsenal, I suppose, and I don't understand that move for his career, at least to go from Inter to Arsenal seems a little bit of a downgrade to me, at least. But you already mentioned Juventus, and Juventus will look to strengthen sort of what they going into the season. And they've also got, obviously, they've got Cristiano Ronaldo there, they've got Chiesa there, they've got sort of that spine, and it looks like Locatelli is going to move there by the end of sort of the season. So how sort of raring to go are they going to be? I mean, by raring to go, I know that Allegri is raring to go means 1-0 victories, but how much would Juventus want it? And do you think they will just reclaim the crown?
It's a lot to discuss in that. Before we get to Juventus, the last one on Inzaghi and Inter is simply this. The point you made is the right one. He doesn't have time to adapt now. He needs to deliver. And let's not forget, they're in the Champions League again, of course, as champions. They will want to deliver. So Inzaghi isn't going to have the time. Allegri, quite surprisingly, has less pressure on him coming in this season. And when we shift the focus from Inter to Juve, Allegri will be expected to win the title. But unlike Pirlo last season, who was going for a 10th straight title for Juve, well, there was the expectation that Juventus would simply win. However, Juve finished, they just scraped into the Champions League. They just scraped into the top four. Allegri comes in with less expectation than Inzaghi and Inter Milan. And I think that will be the key factor for the entirety of this season, because irrespective of how Juve starts, Allegri will take his time to grow. I am anticipating they will be the heavy favourites to win. Will it be a breeze for them? Look, if we have to look at the season as a whole, I think Inter Milan will be confident. I think Juventus will certainly be confident, but I think that Atalanta, which we can discuss if you please, but I think Atalanta certainly have the most stability of any team in the competition. I certainly think they are the best team. And Atalanta, they remind me of what Italy were at the European Championships. They didn't have the star power. Well, if we talk Italy, they didn't have the star power of the French, the Portuguese, even the Germans, but they were a united group. And I see that in Atalanta under Gasperini. They, for me, are the best team. How far that will take them in a 38-game competition, time will tell. But look, for Juventus, let's go through it very quickly. Ronaldo does stay. There is still some talk that he may leave, but he won't, and simply because no club in world football at this point in time can afford to pay him 31 million euro net. That is just the reality of the situation. Now, he and Allegri, they didn't get along. It's been well documented in Allegri's season, which was Ronaldo's first at the club. Allegri then did leave, of course, for Sarri. But I think at this point in time, Ronaldo has an interesting Juventus squad, more or less the same as last season. Locatelli, yes, is expected to come in. Middle Pjanic, very close to, a surprise return, I guess, but a player that Allegri very much likes. And in this squad, there is potential, particularly because they completely underperformed under Andrea Pirlo in the last campaign. And I do feel that if Ronaldo and Allegri can settle their differences, if Ronaldo, I suppose, can continue to deliver at the level that he has been delivering, but also adapt his game to Allegri's style of play, this is a Juventus team that I think can go under the radar and perhaps challenge for that Champions League. But certainly a lot of work needs to happen between now and then.
I'm sure, Adriano, you hear the irony when you say Juventus will go under the radar. but
Yeah, of course.
but
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Juventus. But you said that, of course, Inter Milan and the Champions League and Juventus just scraped through. All this talk about the ESL and this new court verdict coming out that the teams cannot be punished. Will Juventus be playing the Champions League? What's going on around that? What's the conversation like in Italy around that with regards to the ESL?
Well, to be honest, the narrative and the thoughts of those involved with Juve, Milan and Inter, it hasn't changed since the Super League notion was publicly revealed. And obviously it has been a concept that has been discussed and debated for many, many years, but it took us all by surprise, didn't it, when it was revealed all those months ago. But look at the reality of the situation at the moment. The feeling here in Italy, also in Spain, I have many colleagues working in Spain, covering Barca, Real, Atleti, who are obviously in the same boat as Juve, Milan and Inter. And it purely is the fact that the spending power is not in their hands at this point in time. You look at the money being spent. Well, let's look at Man City. I suppose the most extreme of examples at the moment, reportedly on the verge of signing both Kane and Grealish at this point in time. We don't know the exact figures, but we're speculating north of 200 million euro for that pair. It's simply ridiculous. Juventus are in a position at this point in time where they're struggling to come up with 30 to 40 million euro to sign Locatelli from Sassuolo. Inter Milan had to offload Hakimi and their manager are unable to bring anyone in. Milan have had to sign Magnan from Lille, the goalkeeper, Giroud on a free from the Premier League. They just do not have the ability to spend. We know Barcelona and the debts and the financial issues that they're facing at the moment. Real Madrid obviously have really struggled to sign players in recent seasons. Have lost Ramos, lost Varane now as well. And Atleti always doing very well on the transfer front under Diego Simeone. But these clubs at this point in time, they simply cannot compete with the spending of the Premier League and particularly, of course, Paris Saint-Germain. And there is the feeling here in Italy and Spain that, well, given the current setup with UEFA, with the respective organizations and leagues and competitions, the Premier League is the Super League at this point in time. And a lot of that, let's be fair to the Premier League and what they have done, a lot of that is down to the marketing and the strength of that aspect of the English Premier League. They really have marketed themselves significantly better than Serie A, particularly La Liga, Bundesliga and Ligue 1 over the last decade or two. And now they really have emerged as the clear top destination where players can earn big paychecks and they really are attracting the best talent in world football. And well, now, finally, 2 of the last 3 seasons, all English Champions League finals. For me, it's a sign of what's more to come. And that spending now is just they're not able to keep up. Here in Italy, they don't have the money. In Spain, they don't have the money. And I guess now financial fair play is clearly not worked. That concept has not worked. And as such, that's why those 6 clubs particularly have pushed for this Super League, whether, well, I guess we as fans like it or not, they just do not feel that they can continue to compete with this spending going on around them.
Right, but at a level, I also think that, of course, I think Premier League's marketing, but it's also to do with the way the media rights are split and the way the pot is shared with a larger set of teams rather than just the top teams. And I also feel that at some level, it's a cyclical process because in the 2000s, sort of Premier League clubs are dominant. Post 2012-13, the Spanish clubs have been dominant. Madrid and Barcelona, of course, Atleti as well. Juventus reached a couple of finals. And I think it's back to the Premier League. So I think these things are quite cyclical, but I do see where you're coming from. But I do think it's also self-inflicted damage, especially on Barcelona and Real Madrid's part. So I can't sort of feel any sympathy once you get 200 million for Neymar and decide to spend it on Dembele and Coutinho. There isn't much you could feel for them. But let's get back a little bit to the Serie A and the club you want to talk about, who, as you've said, that they're going to win the Serie A, Atalanta. So they are the only club that have managed to keep their manager, of course, and they've managed to keep Zapata. I think Papu Gomez is yet there. So how do you sort of see Atalanta progressing? Do you think they can mount a title challenge? Because I feel they're like the Leicester City club of Serie A. They're very smart in the market, small town club, not that much money, but very smart in what they do.
Yeah. it's a beautiful story that just continues to deliver. And at this point, there is no sign of it ending. And well, moments ago, we talked about these big clubs needing to spend big money to compete and to keep up. But look at what Atalanta have done. Now, again, let's look at the Champions League final last season. Chelsea, Man City, the two clubs who had spent more money than any other clubs in the recent seasons. And Chelsea, a club, this is where the difference lies. Barcelona, you mentioned correctly, they spend money, they blow it. Neymar money doesn't come off, they blow it, and they're in trouble. Chelsea were a club who bought Kepa for a world record fee. Not a flop, but did not perform to the level required. So they spent big money again on Mendy. If this happened to an Italian or Spanish big club, they'd be in a dark place for a long time. And again, whatever the reason is, but the English clubs you mentioned, they share that pool of money. They are in better financial positions at this point in time. But Atalanta are not a club in Italy who are on the receiving end of that luxury, meaning all of the decisions that they make need to be very, very good decisions. And they continually do it on the transfer front. They're about to sell Romero to Tottenham. Obviously, just sold their goalkeeper Golini to Tottenham as well. So 70 million euro or so generated from those sales. They'll reinvest that, and they'll reinvest that well. And irrespective of the fact that they lose two very important players, the system that Gasperini has implemented at this Atalanta team, they lost Papu Gomez to Sevilla, their captain, their talisman, and they didn't miss a beat. And it's quite incredible that Atalanta, a team obviously last season eliminated in the round of 16 against Real Madrid. No club has ever won the Champions League more than Real Madrid. And Atalanta went into that match, which, yes, Real was certainly favoured to win over the two legs. But certainly here in Italy, the feeling was that Atalanta can legitimately push them and maybe eliminate them. And it is quite remarkable that this club are pushing some of the heavyweights of world football. Cast your mind back to the season prior, the very strange Final 8 format in Lisbon to conclude the Champions League after the commencement of the COVID pandemic. I was there covering all the matches, and still my favourite match of that period was the quarterfinal, Atalanta Paris Saint-Germain. Of course, Paris Saint-Germain, eventual beaten finalists, but Atalanta led 1-0 until the 90th minute. It was two late goals, Paris Saint-Germain eliminating them. And if we compare the balance books of Paris Saint-Germain and Atalanta, they have no right to be matching Neymar, Mbappe, and the rest of them. So, look, it's a story that keeps on giving. In Serie A, as I said from the start, I feel that Atalanta under Gasperini are the most stable team. They don't need time to adapt. They are already a unit. So don't be surprised if they get a fast start, maybe lead the way in the early stages of the campaign. And anything is possible because this fairy tale does not feel like it's finished just yet.
So, Adriano, you're going to sit the fence on that one and not say if they're going to win the Serie A.
Look, if I say they're going to win the Serie A, that's a very bold claim. But look, I certainly feel that they have every chance of winning Serie A. Juventus will be the favourites, there's no doubt about it. But Juventus do have a lot of work to do because they have a midfield at the moment, which if they are to perform as they did last season, that's not a top 4 midfield in Italy, let alone a midfield that could compete for the Champions League. Defensively, we know they're strong, Juve, but again, let's see Chiellini and Bonucci. They're not getting any younger. Chiellini very often injured throughout the campaign. A few players still linked away. So still a few question marks for me as well. How does Ronaldo perform under Allegri? How does Allegri utilize Dybala, Chiesa? So for me, Juve and Inter, a few more questions than answers still at this point. So my confidence in terms of who I think will certainly perform well will be Atalanta. Is that certainty enough to finish after 38 rounds on top? Well, I'm not brave enough to tip it just yet.
Okay, so then you said Atalanta are the most sort of stable team under Gasperini. Let me talk or ask you about a team that is potentially can be the most unstable team. He's back in the Serie A.
Roma.
There is going to be spotlight of the Serie A. Whether we like it or not, it's going to bring views, at least to Roma. It is going to, on social medias, it's going to bring views. He's already said a few things that are controversial. Jose Mourinho returns to where sort of maybe solidified his status as one of the greatest managers after winning that treble with Inter. So what do you think is going to happen there? AS Roma, a club that is sort of an underdog club, what Jose Mourinho likes. Do you think this will be a successful partnership? Do you think it will fall apart? And What do you feel about Jose coming back to
Well, you're guaranteed entertainment. And
Italy?
when the announcement was made, it was, well, there were mixed reactions here in Italy, but I think overall very positive because Mourinho, he brings drama, he brings entertainment, and he brings eyeballs as well. And these eyeballs are very important for Serie A because if Mourinho is there causing mayhem, whether good or bad, there's just more interest in the game. But look, I think it's a very interesting acquisition by Roma because Roma, look, only ever won 3 Italian championships. They are a big club without being overly successful, but a big club in a big city with a big name manager. Expect the unexpected here. It is a very talented squad. It is a talented squad that showed glimpses of brilliance under Paulo Fonseca. But look, the pressure, they all say it. I've interviewed a lot of players, a lot of former managers at Roma, and they all say that the pressure in that city is unlike any other city in European
Not
football.
even
And
Napoli?
well, Napoli may be a different level. We'll get to Napoli shortly, but the pressure in the city, the pressure of the Derby della Capitale against Lazio, these are things which the people of this city live for. It's really they're the most important thing that they have. And look, I think Mourinho's experience, his confidence, I certainly think he is the right type of character to adapt well to this city and life in this city. But we've seen from his recent jobs that, well, when things don't go well, they really don't go well. So I'm not saying I'm confident that he will perform well in Rome, but I certainly do feel he has the players, and particularly some young emerging players, that if he can bring the best out of this, is a very, very exciting Roma squad. Who, well, certainly the objective should be a top 4 finish. And I think that's what makes this Serie A season very, very interesting because there are 7 or 8 clubs who legitimately should be confident of finishing in the top 4. It's unlike last season where, well, with all due respect, Fonseca's Roma were not a team that I did feel ever had a chance of finishing in the top 4. Milan, yes, they did get there in the end, but again, you just felt that they were a season or 2 away from really challenging. I feel now with Milan, Roma, Lazio with Sarri will be fascinating as well. And even Napoli, who have really consolidated, yes, another new manager in Spalletti, but there are teams now that the expectation, not the dream, but the expectation should be a top 4 finish.
But what, according to you, will be a successful season for Jose at Roma? Because, mind you, a successful I mean, I think this is where he's right, and I have to agree with him. A successful season for another manager is not the same as a successful season for Jose. He's
That's
expected
right.
to do wonders. So, what do you think is a successful season for Jose at Roma?
Look, the minimum objective will be top 4. I think if he doesn't finish in the top 4, that will be, well, perhaps job at serious risk. A successful season, he will need to get himself in the Champions League. I've had a feeling since they qualified for it and finished in 7th place, but I have a sneaky feeling that once they get to the latter stages of the competition, the new Conference League will be something that he will aim to win. And is there much prestige around this new European competition? Probably not. But we know that he loves a record. We know that he loves a trophy. And he could potentially become the first ever manager to win that trophy. I just have a feeling that he may have one eye on another piece of European silverware. So, look, minimum objective top 4. But we know Mourinho, he's already spoken openly and boldly. He will want to challenge for every trophy that is on offer. So, look, a deep cup run, a top 4 finish, and will hopefully, for their sake, a nice run in that new European competition, I think will be a success. But I think overall, Roma fans just do not want to see him implode. I think if he can keep a cool head over the course of the season, that will at least be season 1 with a big tick in the box. But they must qualify for Champions League for next season.
Adriano, I could see the excitement of the glint in your eye when you talk about Mourinho because you don't know which way it's going to go.
And if you're right, no idea.
If you're right about the Conference League, the UEFA is going to be very happy because if Jose has a run there, you're going to see some fireworks one way or the other. So it will be interesting. But let's talk about Napoli and Lazio. Napoli, of course, have got sort of the second most important person in their city after Maradona and in Insigne now. I don't know how that's going to go down with Napoli fans, but he is there. He is a fantastic player. He's had a great Euros. But have they sort of reached their level? Do you think they can take the next step and make a realistic title challenge? Or this is it, like fifth and fourth is what they're going to fight for. And the same with Lazio. I know Sarri is back, but well, Sarri is himself, well, I don't know how to put it, but he's himself not very stable.
Yeah, look, I certainly feel that Sarri Lazio has more potential than Spalletti Napoli. That's just how I'm feeling coming into this season. If I had to, out of the 7 big clubs in Italy who will be gunning for that top 4 position, I probably have the least faith in Napoli and Spalletti. And Napoli's squad, don't get me wrong, very talented. Again, another squad that have been consistently together and growing under different managers in recent seasons. But I'm just not so sure about that appointment. Napoli, obviously, well, with Gattuso, they were minutes away from the top 4 finish and return to the Champions League. They just couldn't get the job done against Verona on the final match day last season. Gattuso leaves, and well, all summer, yes, Insigne performed very well at the Euros. Donnarumma was the player of the tournament. Chiesa was incredible, but Insigne for many was the player of the tournament. So his performance is remarkable. He has been linked away again, though, so question marks over his future. He will stay, but it's a Napoli team that they're lacking something. And I think they lack a little bit of the consistent quality that some of the other teams lack at this point in time. And, well, it will be a tough challenge for Spalletti, who probably hasn't been the top manager in Italy in recent years. Perhaps not too many others out there that could have taken the job. But Napoli, for me, not so confident with regards to Lazio. Sarri and Lazio, look, Sarri at Juve, he won the title. Now, whether he was the right fit or not, his last season there at Juve, he was a title-winning manager, which, given his story, is remarkable what he was able to do. We know prior to that, he took Napoli to a second-place finish to Juventus with a record points tally for a second-place team. This is a manager who has performed and who has done it in recent seasons. I feel that Lazio have the tools required, similarly with Inzaghi and Inter, that really Sarri could bring out the best in this Lazio team. He's always performed well with a prolific marksman up top. I think in Ciro Immobile in this Lazio lineup with the quality in around him, particularly Milinkovic-Savic, there are players who can really excel in this Lazio system under Sarri, and I feel that Lazio could be the dark horse to finish in the top 4. So it could be a prolific campaign for Immobile, Luis Alberto, Milinkovic-Savic. There's so much quality in this Lazio team, defensively very solid as well. I do think that Lazio could be a very, very tough team to break down this campaign, and I'm really looking forward to Sarri, Mourinho, Lazio-Roma in the Derby della Capitale.
Yeah, I mean, I think having Sarri and Mourinho, I think elevates the profile of Serie A definitely. I mean, when people don't seem to understand how much watch time Jose Mourinho can bring, I think it's incredible. But let me talk about this one final team before we wrap this up. Is Sassuolo. With the Zebri gone, is their dream run in a sense over? I mean, it'd be harsh to say it's over, but is their sort of resurgence been put back a little bit as well? And obviously Locatelli on the way out possibly.
Yeah, well, the Zebri, obviously what he was able to do was, again, for a team, Sassuolo, who obviously, is similar to Atalanta, a team that have developed and will really help progress the careers of so many, particularly young Italians coming through. It is a blow. However, they do bring in a very capable coach to replace De Zerbi. And most importantly, at this point in time, they still have that same squad. There is a lot of quality, particularly in the attack of Sassuolo. Juricic, of course, with Berardi, who has been linked to Juve so many times, but Caputo as well. There is a lot of quality still in this squad. Locatelli, still not 100% confirmed. It is very open and clear that he does want Juve. Juve want him. They're just still yet to reach that deal. But look, it is a Sassuolo team that I'm not expecting to challenge for a top 7. Obviously, you take away the manager, a figure who has been so important. I think just, again, ensuring that they're stable, consistent finisher in Serie A will be the objective. So, unfortunately for them, it does appear to be the end of the road of, well, very easily, they were very close to the top 7 and knocking Roma out of the top 7 last season. I'm not anticipating that we'll see them be that team again. But that's what makes the run of Atalanta all the more impressive. The fact that not only have they been consistently top four, but they've also been performing in the Champions League and maintaining their performances in Serie A, which for these smaller clubs is quite remarkable. We discussed financially earlier again, just to give you an idea. If you cast your mind back to the season when Huddersfield finished rock bottom in the Premier League and were relegated, I believe with a win or 2 wins in the season, that season, Huddersfield earned more TV money than Juventus, who won the Serie A.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's for the biggest club in Italy. What does that mean for the Sassuolos and Atalantas? The money is just not there. So the fact that Sassuolo have been consistent, Atalanta have been so consistent, it makes these stories all the more remarkable.
And I think, Adriano, this was mentioned in the book Daniel G wrote, Done Deal, and he was on our channel as well. So do check that video out if you want to know more about that as well. The link is in the description for everyone who's watching. So, Adriano, one final question before we wrap this up. Now, finally, you tell me your top 4 with pick a winner this time. And who do you think is going to be sort of the Golden Boot winner in the Serie A this season? Because there is a battle there between 2 of them who sort of took it out in the Euros as well. Of course, Ronaldo has been coming up trumps. But who's going to be the Golden Boot winner, and which is the one player, sort of one or maybe 2 players you're looking out for who you think will have a breakout season or have a sort of great season as well?
No problem at all. Let's go through it. Okay. Well, let's start with the champion in the top 4. Look, I think fourth place is going to be the toughest position to predict this season. I'll give you my order in a moment, but I am anticipating Atalanta, Juventus, Inter will be the top 3. As for 4th place, look, Napoli, they have the quality. I just don't think over the course of the campaign they'll be able to go with Milan, Roma, Lazio. Now, I did say Lazio could be the smoky for top 4, but I'll stick with Milan. I think this is the moment for Milan, which means I do feel Roma and Mourinho will miss out, which could be a disaster. But I'll stay with Milan in 4th place. I think, look, it's Zlatan's last season. I think Milan now will be able to grow and push on, and a little bit more stability as well with Pioli again at the helm. So I'll say Milan in 4th. I'm going to say Inter in 3rd. I don't think they'll be far off. I just think without Conte, without Hakimi, that is a blow. They will still hopefully keep Lautaro Lukaku. So I still think they'll be there or thereabouts. Look, I can't tip against Juventus just yet because Atalanta to tip them would be bold. But I am going to say Atalanta 2nd. Again, for me, the best unit, the best team, I think they will push Juventus all the way. But I do think that Juventus will be back on the top of Serie A. You look at the attack all of a sudden, and after Chiesa's performances at the Euros, that potential trio of Ronaldo, Dybala, and Chiesa, Dybala, a player who under Allegri has always been at his best. I think that is as good a trio as there is in football. But Allegri does need to work out how to bring out the best of them all, and consistently. That is going to be the challenge. And with Morata, Kulusevski, Bernardeschi in reserve, I think Locatelli coming into this team, there could be a very strong push both domestically and in Europe. So that's my top 4, Juve, Atalanta, Inter, and Milan. Look, I think the Capocannonieri winner, the top goal scorer, I think it will be Ciro Immobile. And maybe a surprise, but I really do feel that Sarri's system will suit a player like Immobile. We've seen Gonzalo Higuain score 35, 36 goals under Sarri in this style with Napoli. We've seen many players perform well, and I think that with the quality around him, Immobile plays his best football in a Lazio shirt. So I think he could knock off Ronaldo again, which will be a remarkable achievement. And we saw him in the Euros. He loves the Stadio Olimpico. He loves playing at his home venue. So I think plenty of goals for Immobile this season. And in terms of a player to watch, it's an obvious one, but I really do feel that Federico Chiesa takes his club performances now to the next level. And, well, if he's not already a world-class player, he certainly establishes himself as a world-class player. And let's not forget, his good performances did not start at the Euros. He was the player that, well, Juventus obviously embarrassed by Porto in the round of 16, with all due respect to Porto last season. But Chiesa was the player that kept them alive and in it just. In the end, not enough. But I certainly feel Chiesa, he will be as confident as he has ever been this season. I think that he could be potentially the MVP of the competition. He just has the makings of an absolute world-class superstar. And really, if Juventus are to perform well and compete on all fronts, he, alongside obviously the two high profile players near him, will certainly need to fire.
Right. So Adriano has, of course, said that Jose Mourinho is going to be disastrous at Roma, and he said Cristiano Ronaldo is no good anymore. So
no.
So
Not at all, not at all. I'm so happy that they're both here. Let me tell you that, because it brings the drama and entertainment that I love.
No, I'm just joking. But yes, I think you've sort of hit the nail on the head. I'm personally going to say Roma will make the top four. I do like Jose Mourinho succeeding. It's the kind of sort of, it's almost like the antichrist to Pep Guardiola and Klopp's attacking sort of football. I do enjoy good defending, good tackling. I hope he can keep his head and sort of revive Roma. We'll find out whether he can sort of build Rome back from the ruins, or is it all over for him as well as a manager? So thank you so much, Adriano, for coming on to our channel. It's been an absolute pleasure, and we of course hope to have you on again. And we will see whether your predictions come true or not. So be wary of that. And for everyone who's watching, subscribe to our channel, follow Adriano on Twitter, give him some support as well. He's absolutely brilliant at what he does. You've heard him today, and we're honored to have him. Thank you so much, Adriano.
My absolute pleasure. Anytime. Will be great to catch up, and let's keep a close eye on those predictions.
Absolutely. Bye-bye.